Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Cooper's Ghost. I own and operate CRH Customs LLC in Oak Brook, Illinois. Today we are restaking a Shell Latch into a Remington 1100. We have the gun disassembled and viced up. I've got a couple of pieces of reference material here. We have the Kuhnhausen 870-1100 shop manual. It also covers the 1187. We are on page 114 and 115. I'm going to show you guys some illustrations and cross-section photos and read the info as we go along here. This is a real client's gun. It's the first time I've ever done this job, so we're going to take as much precautions as we can and read along in the shop manual. Okay, so our first illustration here shows the feed latch in the right side of the section 1100 receiver. Feed latch should be removed from receivers only when the latch is replaced. When the receiver latch slots are impacted with gum, dry, dirt, or oil, or when the receiver is reblued, feed latches can be left installed in receivers that are to be reblued, provided that the receiver slots are clean behind the latches and the receiver is treated in the salts bleed out neutralizer bath after the hot oxide tanks. We have Brownell's shotgun magazine catch gauge shown right here underneath the cross section. It can be used as a reference when checking feed latches for wear and correct tip position. We can remove the latch if it is stuck by pushing it with a drift bunch, as they show in the bottom right here. So that shows our correct positioning in the receiver. The next illustration we have shows the latch itself illustrated, and it shows the receiver with the latch removed. Let's read along with that. Flared material remaining at the edges of the receiver slot from the previous staking should not be removed unless the replacement feed latch can't be pushed down into and bottomed in the latch slot. Okay, so before we even go any further, let's take a look at what our previous staking looks like in the receiver. I think we can put you up here. So those two shiny bits right there, that's the previous staking. Right there, you can see my little scribe is catching on that, and right there, it's a little shelf. We have, I don't know if you can really see this, but this is the bottom shelf of that latch, and it's not catching as bad. But we can see where our two previous marks are on the lower half of that feed latch location. We have one on the bottom, one on the top, one on the bottom here, and one on the top here. We'll be putting 6 total new stakes in here. Let's see how the feed latch fits in currently. We're going to align it in place with the trigger pin. You'll notice this latch has 2 holes in it for the alignment. I do not know what that rear hole is for. You cannot install this with that rear hole aligned with the trigger pin. There's just no way to do it. So I don't know what that hole is behind this one, and all the other holes, all the other shell latches in the reference material do not have that second hole. So if you know what that is, let me know in a comment. So now you can see where we're going to have 3 pairs of stakes, top and bottom there, top and bottom there, and top and bottom right there where my finger is. Let's follow back along in the Kuhnhausen Manual, and we'll talk about this latch here. Flared material remaining at the edges of the receiver slot from the previous staking should not be removed unless the feed latch cannot be pushed down into and bottomed into the latch. So you guys just saw me do that, just holding it down with my finger. So we're not going to remove the existing staking in the receiver. If the receiver is blurred from previous staking, widen the staking recesses in the feed latch as shown, and stake the receiver slightly to the left or right of a blurred area to retain the latch. So what they're telling us to do, we have an illustration of one that's been modified. And here is our original one. And you can kind of see, I don't think you can actually, but we're going to widen these slots in here. At bottom, the illustration at bottom shows a feed latch with the original staking widened slightly to make room for the new receiver staking. We have a little note down here that says staking recesses. The staking recesses in the feed latches need not be widened more than 60 thousandths and should not be cut deeper than the original. So if we're looking at this little drawing that they show us, we're talking about widening out these notches right here. This area under here we don't want to touch. We just want to make it a little wider so that there's more area to push into those stakes. So let's do that now. I have a very fine Swiss file here. It's just a Swiss needle file, and it fits that recess pretty well. We're gonna clean them up. We're just gonna clean them up a little and give that receiver a little more area to bite into. Let's get the receiver out of the vise. Okay, let's see if I can show you the difference between those two. What enhancing that little mark looks like. Okay, so that one has been enhanced a little bit. We still have some shelf below that. We don't want to cut into that bottom line there. We just want to open this up a little bit. Make some room for some new stakes. If you look at it from this profile, you can kind of see how much more of a shelf there is here. Than on the new one. We'll go a little more. I think we'll stop with that one, and let's do. We'll keep doing this 5 more times. I can kind of run my finger over that edge of the latch and feel how much sharper those are than the ones on this side. Let's flip it over and we'll do the other side. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. You can see how all 6 of those latches have been slightly deepened. Let's see if I can get as close to those as I can. Trying to really sharpen those shoulders in there as much as I can without blowing past that bottom line in there. So we don't want to start gouging into the width of this thing on the bottom here. We want something of a shelf so that the receiver has something to pinch down on when we stick it in. Okay, let's get the receiver back in here and go back to the Kuhnhausen Manual. Okay, this figure shows the 1100 receiver ready for feed latch staking. Make sure the front of the feed latch is positioned inside the recess between the magazine tube and receiver before staking. See illustration at top. The tapered aluminum, we have, they're showing something that I'm not going to use in here. This is a tapered aluminum block that basically pinches the shell latch into place while you use the staking tool. And they're describing shimming that and using the taper of it to hold it in place. Place a .188 diameter assembly pin as shown below, or the front trigger pin. That's the illustration of the tapered shim stock and the pin to hold it in place. It says place a clean bench pad under the receiver to minimize risk of damaging the finish. We're holding it in bench and supporting it with a stock tree, so that doesn't matter. Let's take a look at the last illustration. It shows using a tool that we're not going to use and another cross section of the receiver. You can see where it's telling us to stake on that cross section. As you can see, we want to stake the receiver, not the latch that is in there. We stake on the edge of that receiver material. Here is the cross section with the staking complete. And you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stakes in place. Now, the Kuhnhausen Manual has, it shows you how to use this Brownell's tool. We don't have the Brownell's tool, we have this guy right here. I got it from Midway USA, made by Strobel. So if you can't tell how this is going to work, we've got that anvil on one end and a plate that we tighten against the side of the receiver. This bolt supports just the edge of the receiver as it sits like this, so it'll go in here kind of like yo, with that little plate bearing against our receiver. That plate will bear against the receiver. That is why it's covered in tape. And we use the larger screw up here to adjust the positioning of our tool. We have some printed off instructions for the use of this style of tool. Let's go over that now. Okay, first page just talks about supporting the gun, as you see in a vise. I've got the stock removed, obviously, and I'm holding it by that mainspring tail, supporting it with the stock tree. Align the instructions read, align the hardened staking point of the tool inside of the receiver just above the shell latch. The original staking dimples should be visible, and the staking point should be placed next to, but not in one. Gently snug the short bolt with the bolt pad against the outside of the receiver. Adjust the long bolt so that it touches the receiver. Using a 9/16 wrench or pocket or socket and ratchet, I'll tighten the outside bolt while steadying the tool with the other hand. When resistance is felt on the bolt, any further turns will begin to dimple the steel. Extra care should be taken from this point on. Only dimple the steel enough to hold the shell latch in place, which will be a firm tightening. At no point should it be difficult to turn. So they're not giving us a torque spec for this. We're kind of just going to have to feel it out. After removing the tool, newly created staking will be visible. Next, position the tool just below the shell latch, opposite of the dimple that was just made. Repeat the tightening process to create another staking dimple. Repeat this process 4 more times, switching from above the shell latch to below the shell latch until 6 dimples have been made. And in these instructions we have another picture of some somewhat aggressive staking, I would say. So we'll see how tight we have to hold this thing. I'm not gonna use an inch-pound torque wrench on this, or maybe I will. No, I don't think I will. We're gonna do it by hand. I'm going to clean this out just a little bit. We're going to position the shell latch and then we'll check for function. So, using that magazine gauge that was referenced in the Kuhnhausen Manual. So, we've got our feed latch here, installing it, pressing it into position. We're going to use the trigger pin to align it. Next, what I'm going to do, they talked about using that shim in the Kuhnhausen Manual. What I'm going to do is use just a machinist's clamp with some painter's tape on it to clamp down the other end of the shell latch that sticks up. Let's take a look inside there. Now, what you guys see, I can see, and it's a little difficult to see in there right now. Imagine how difficult it's going to be to align this little anvil in there. So what I'm going to do is take a little paint pen, and I'm going to put a couple of white dots next to the original staking, so I have some kind of reference point that I can peek in there with. little extra paint on there, that's no big deal. Wipe that right off with some alcohol. And now you can see I've got my staking points marked on the receiver. Let's go ahead and set up the tool in there. Now, I don't think you guys are going to be able to see that anvil actually get set into position, but I'll show you what it looks like after I make a stake, and you guys will be able to see how much I'm turning that bolt to stake it in. Let's see. That's not so bad. So we will start at the top with the one closest to the muzzle. Okay, so you guys can't see this, but with this plate in here, I actually can't get that anvil to reach to the top of the shell latch, so I'm going to take that out. I've got some molybdenum grease and tape on the end of that nut, and tape on the receiver, so we should be good. There we go. Hold on. Literally had the shield against the wrong thing. Against the wrong bolt. Okay, we're going to start tightening. Okay, it's starting to get to the point where I need to use a considerable amount of arm strength to move that thing, so I'm going to back it off and let's see what it looks like. Let's take a peek in there. There, can you see that? That little dimple in there? I think I like that. We're talking about that little guy right there. Not bad. I think we got a good stake there. We did not position our anvil too deep into there, so that we would to work that stake to the other side of that shelf. We want to keep that stake on this side of that shelf. And 5 more to go. Should not be difficult. Okay, let's back out, reposition our tool, and do another one. Okay, so our trigger pin is kind of preventing me from getting as far over as I want to. Since we've got that machinist clamp in there, I'm just going to pull that trigger pin out. That way I can get nice and close to that original stake without using the same position. Okay, we're in position. Let's see if I can give you guys a decent angle of how much I'm actually turning this thing. I think that one could stand a little more. Okay, let's take a look at that one. There it is right in there. Let's move down to the middle. We'll do the middle top. Okay, that's it for that one. Okay, that's a pretty good view in there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take the machinist's clamp off here on this end, and we'll do the last 2. Okay, one more. clean out any excess paint in there. And those are our stakes. Let's check function on that thing. We should be able to take a dummy round, put it into our tube, and look at that, it stays in place. We pinch the end of that latch down, and it comes out. That's it, you guys. That's really all there is to it. Thanks for watching, you guys. Thanks for the likes and the subs. That puts us just past 600 subs. So thanks for watching, you guys. Thanks for sticking around. Even when I take like months and months between videos, you guys still keep subbing. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching, you guys. CRH Customs, LLC, Oak Brook, Illinois. Custom gunsmithing, Type 7 manufacturing, FFL. Thanks for watching, you guys.